So in the last class, we discussed about the conditions and the various types of conditions and the approach to write these conditions in the very last session. So about the method approach. So the topics that we have learned so far, like conditions and prior to this, the methods, class and object, right? So by using these concepts, can we fulfill every other requirement that we come across? Like say, for example, there is a requirement like generate the output of 5, 10, 15, 20. Then in this scenario, how do we generate this result? By using existing knowledge. So for this, the idea will be like, say, int a variable of a with a value and a print the same variable. Then use a different variable 10 to store 10, then print b. Like this, we can do for 15 and 20 also. Then is it recommended to follow this approach? Looks like okay. But what if it is up to say a 500? The same pattern of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 like that, up to 500. Then do we use those many variables to store? No. Or you might say that I can print directly, that print 5, print 10, print 20, like this. But still, this also, do we prefer to do this way when it comes to this much big count? No. There is one more concern here that, okay, fine. If we assume that if this is the approach to follow, then later add every number by 1 or do some arithmetic on this existing data, like 5, then 5 plus 1, 10, 10 plus 1, 15, 15 plus 1, like that. So can we do again? So what we supposed to do? Every time to add 1 to this 5, we have to add that and print it. Or we have to modify the existing entire lines of code. So that's one concern. And then, so we can follow one more approach for this as well. What's one more approach? So because this difference which we could see is 5, then we can use that int type of variable d for difference equals 5. And from where to start? So you can take, to make it is uniform, you can take something as a variable of programmer choice to a value 0. So then, if we add these two, do we get our first result, our first expert output? That is the sum plus difference. And we updated it back to sum itself. Then in this scenario, the value of this variable, that is right hand side execution, will be first. So we get the result as 5 and 5 will be stored into this variable sum. Then print the sum. So with this, we get the output as 5. The next, to get 10, again we can use a similar line of code. After this result or after updation of this value to the sum variable, again we can use the latest sum plus the difference common. And we get the result as new sum. And we can print this. So difference is 5. Sum updated to previously is again 5. Then total result will be 10. Then we get the output as 10 here. Like this, can we repeat this line to get 15? Can we repeat these two lines to get 20? And so on, we can follow. And this is recommended? It is possible, but is it recommended? You could see that these two lines are repeated for multiple number of times. This is also a concern that says code duplication, or we call it as code redundancy. And this also printing multiple times leads to code duplication or lengthy code. And the next concern is when it comes to any manipulations or modifications, difficult to manipulate. Again, difficult in the sense even it's not possible simply. So if we follow by using this existing knowledge, so by applying that, we can get the results, but there are some concerns. So this code redundancy, never recommended. Writing lengthy code and whenever it is required to customize it, if it is difficult, then such type of approaches are never recommended to follow. Then for all of these concerns, what is the solution? How to avoid this code redundancy? So for this, we have a solution for all programming languages that the loops is solution. Solution is a loop. Yeah. So that's why we have to understand our next concept. It's a loops concept with existing knowledge. We can't fulfill still some more requirements in an efficient way. So we have to learn a new concept for that called as a loops. So why loops? Let's see that. So loops are used to execute a block of code or some set of instructions for a specific or countable number of times. So loops are never meant for infinite number of times. It's for specific or countable, like 10 times, 100 times, 1000 times, or the entire data till it finishes. So that's what the meaning of specific or countable. Right? Then what is that? It is used to execute a block of code. Like you put some statements inside some block and you ask these statements to execute again and again for countable number of times. Or some set of instructions like get everything from the database. For example, a database with some data and inside some records were there, 100 records. Then read all these records one after the other. That's when also we use the looping approach. We can't write each time one line of code for reading all those things. For example, 100 records were there. We cannot, it's not recommended to use 100 lines to get this data. One line we write it, which is working fine for all this with changing of values inside the loop. So that's what the meaning of or the purpose of loops called. Loops are used to execute a block of code, a set of code for countable or specific number of times. The Java supports four types of loops. One is for loop and while loop, do while loop, and for each loop. So these are the four loops that Java supports. So then inside this, there is a for each loop. So for each loop, we can't use it directly on the data. So we'll be discussing this for each loop once we move to our next concept. So currently it is just one of the loop, but we are not going to discuss anything on this for each loop in this loops concept explicitly. So once we go to next concept, that is for each loop is used for iterating the collection of data to be used for each. But if you have a number, say I have a number called 20, or if we have some numbers called as 1 to 10, then to generate such type of results, so for each loop is not recommended. Generate this 1 to 10 or take this number and write a logic of prime number that is it a prime number or not. We can't use for each loop for that. That's what I mean to say. For this, we need some collection of data, not for generating such results or not for generating such type of purposes. So then, We will understand these three loops in this loops concept with various first simple questions to understand the practice. Sorry, simple programs to understand the syntax. Then later on, some important interview questions are most frequently asked questions. And that we will see with for loop and while loop and do while loop. So to start with a for loop, what is the syntax of the for loop to use it? The syntax is a for, then a parenthesis, and a for has three parts. The first part is initialization. We'll discuss what's the meaning of it. Then second part is condition. Third part is either increment or decrement. Then the block of for loop. That's with open and close flower brackets. Then inside this, the set of statements to be executed for number of times, countable number of times. So then, in this syntax, what are the meanings of each term? What's the meaning of each term? So initialization. What is initialization? We are aware of this. We can use a data type and a reference and end of this statement. And we can use a data type and a reference and we can assign the value. So these two are syntactically correct. Then what's the difference? This is called as only declaration. It means we are reserving a variable called x of integer type. We are reserving. So when it comes to int a equals 100, we are assigning the value. This is called as initialization. When we are not aware of what's the value, we can declare to reserve a reference. We can reuse to assign the value. But if we are aware of what's the data also, so we can go for assigning the data to the reference of so and so type. That's what is initialization. So this is what we have to use in place of this initialization. We can write this entire syntax here, for example. Then when it comes to condition, the end result of this condition should be Boolean, like if and ternary. End result of all these expressions to be Boolean. So it means Boolean type of conditions only allowed. True or false. Then increment depends on the requirement, for example, 1 to 10. So then we have to increment by 1. 10 to 1, we have to decrement by 1. That's the meaning of each term. Then what you want to repeat, that should be inside the loop. Then how this will become a loop? So far is a keyword, predefined keyword. Then in how this will become a looping process. So for this, the flow of execution will be when JVM execute is first, the loop part, first part will be, first JVM executes initialization part. From initialization, then JVM moves to condition, step number 2. The type of condition is of Boolean type, therefore only two possibilities will be there, either true or false. Assume the condition result is a true. Then when the condition is true, then the set of statements. So these statements will be executed by JVM. So let me call this as step number 3. It means all these lines of code, whatever we write inside this block. After the last statement, then the control goes to either increment or decrement, depends on the requirement that we write. Step number 4. And from step number 4, the looping will be up to step number 2 once again. That is again condition. True, repeat 3 and repeat 4 and repeat 2. So again true, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2. So this is how the looping process will happen. Then after a specific number of times, after executing this condition as true, then statements are done. Then because of this incrementation or decrementation, the next condition result may be false. After certain iterations, according to these values, incrementation or decrementation, the result of this condition will turn to false. So whenever this condition result is false, then it's end of for loop execution. So that's all. As long as the condition is true, the statements will be executed. And once the condition turns into false, then the end of the loop. Irrespective of which iteration, condition result is false, then that's the end of the loop execution. So this is the flow. So far, do we have any questions, please? Okay, so then let's get some more clarity about these terms. Initialization is existing variable or a new variable can be initialized to start the loop. Yeah. Existing variable, if you already have a variable prior to this one, then you can use only that variable to use that value, or you can declare a new variable to initialize. So this general initialization will be used to start the loop. Then condition, as we discussed, condition must be of Boolean type and used to continue or terminate the loop. As I said, true, continue, false means terminate. The next, increment or decrement is used to update the value of a variable for next iteration or iteration. So for example, say int I equals to 1. The next time we want I to be 2. That is I equals to I plus 1. Means we update the same I value to 2. Same I value to 3, like that. And very, very important point, all these three things to be related. I mean to say, for example, here we are using int x equals to 1 to start. Condition x should be less than or equals to 10. Then x value to be incremented by 1. So then we'll do the logical part of printing that x. We will go for the example. Just to put the next point, I have taken this example. Then here, we are using x is a variable to initialize. We are using same variable x to write condition. And we are using same variable x to write the incrementation. Then is it mandatory, or can we use a different variables? For example, we have a variables already declared as A is of integer type, B is of integer type, C is of some integer type. Then can we use that A to initialize? Can we write this B with condition? And can we use this C to increment? So my question is, again, it should be a same value, same variable for all these three parts of the for loop, or we can use different variables for each part of the for loop. What do you guess? So it can be both. The conclusion is all these three are independent statements. There is no dependency on each other. It means we can use, if at all we want, we can use the same variable for all these, or we can use a different variable for each of them. Okay. Remember this statement. So then, what are the examples? Okay, we got the syntax. Then what are the examples? So here is the simplest example to start with. So generate the result. The requirement is generate the result or output, say from 1, 2, 3, and so on, 9900. So this is the expected output format. Then to generate this output, one possibility is we can write the 100 print statements. But is that recommended? No. Then we have to go for a loop. And we discussed only for loop syntax, so we have to use for loop. Prior to that, what is this type of data? As per the requirement, the output is of int type of data. The data is of int type. First analysis. It should be in the mind calculation. And always this first value to be used for hint as initialization. The next, we will be using this last value as condition. It's not mandatory, but it's recommended to get the ideas how to use it. first value out of the requirement to be used as initialization, then last value to be used for writing a condition. Then if you just observe, there will be a pattern. Without pattern, it's not possible to write the loops. I mean to say, 1 after 3, then 3 after 9, 9 after 47, something like this. Is there any pattern here? But still there are multiple numbers to generate. Then still, can we go for the loop? Not possible. So there should be a logical relation between the expert results. Then only it's possible. So what is that relation here? It is increasing order. That increment is by +1 wherever it is till the last value that we get it. It's a +1 only is the incrementation. So this is the basic understanding before we go for writing the loop. Then to fulfill this requirement, a loop to be used for initialization. So what is the value to be initialized? A data type is integer. Generally, we use the variables I, j, k for loops. So int I equals 1, end of the statement. So this is the first part that's called as initialization. Then what's the next one? Condition. So when it comes to condition, we have to use the end value as a reference for that, as an idea. So compared to this last value, I repeat, compared to this last value, all the other values are less or more. It's less, right? That's why I use less than. So this is the most common ambiguity when to go for less than, greater than, at least initial stages. Then do we need to include this 100 also? Yes, then put it as equals. So less than equals. Which value? I variable should be less than or equals the last value, say 100. So this is the condition part. And which is true or false. You take any value in place of I, the condition will give either true or false results. Then as we analyzed, it should be increasing order, then increment. By how much? 1. So use the variable to increment as per the requirement. Assign it back to the same variable only. This is the increment part. Then the block of 1. Then inside this, so what we supposed to do? Print that value. So to print it, we are aware of print syntax. And which value? So we can't use the 1, 2, 3 here. All those values are present in a variable called I. So this is the loop which gives for sure this requirement, this result. Yeah. So then here is a process to understand the loop that we write is going to give the right results or not, especially when we are in the interview room. So when you're practicing and all, we don't get such doubts. But when we are in the interview room only, we get the doubt that, okay, I have written something. Is it going to work correctly or not? Then in the interview room, there is no Eclipse to check that. And they might give online compiler. Then there is no IntelliSense. And they'll be monitoring us. We can't check and change it. Then what we can do? First thing is, before you write the code, analyze it. Approach number 1. Okay, fine, we analyzed it. So I assume that it's right. Then after writing, we can check at the process. That process called as iteration process. Means what is the flow of JVM's execution? Or we can say that this is a step-by-step process that we expect to happen. And there are some various technology, names were there for this. Then what is this one? If JVM execute this loop, what is that process? Yeah, we can also call it tracing. So in this, the first part as we discussed, the execution will be I will be initialization to 1. So it means there is a variable to trace and whose value is 1, step 1. Then from here to the control goes to condition. Step number 2. What's the condition? I less than or equals to 100 is the syntax that we have. But for current iteration, 1 less than or equals to 100. What's the conclusion? Is it true or false? It's true. Because this is true, now JVM execute the statements. Step number 3. So print statement will generate the output for us. Then the current I value is 1. So we get output as 1. Then before end of the for loop, because the condition is not yet false, right? Then the control goes to increment. It means existing I value will be incremented by 1 and updated to I only. It means I will become simply 2. Then the step number 2 condition. With current I value, 2 less than equals 100. Is true? Yes. Because true, execute the statements. Print I, get the output as 2. Then increase the I, becomes 3. So like this, at least one or two, at least 2 or 3 at initial stage, so that we can cross verify is the pattern is happening as we expect or not, or is the result is as per our expected output or not. So then especially uh, most of the people or new programmers will fail at the end in the sense. So sometimes we end up by 99 or sometimes we end up by 101. Possibility is there. So then assume that we got the 99 result in terms of printing. It means I is 99, then 99 less than 100, true, then print that value 99. Then goes to incrementation, then I becomes 100. 100 less than or equals to 100 is a true again. Then print I value, we get 100. After that, generally while tracing also will stop because we are happy with we got the result. No, but the condition is not yet false. No, please continue that iteration also. Then after this 100, again I will be incremented, becomes 101. Then 101 less than 100. Is it true or false? False. That means the end of the loop or termination of the loop. So by the time, did we get the exact output that we expect? Yes. So therefore, now we are confident that our loop is going to work as per the given requirement. Yeah, you may say that this is very simplest loop. Why should we trace all these things? So I'm not saying that you should trace for everything, but whenever we have a doubt, then in that scenarios you have to trace and understand by ourselves, especially in the interview room, because there is no other support that we have, and we'll be having some added pressure. Yeah, so this is the approach to follow. And do we need to trace all these 100? No. Check with one or two at the starting and check with last two. At least the last one is where is true and last one where is false. Then these two things will give you the clarity of terminating properly or not. I mean, after getting the expert results, is it terminating or is it giving something extra or is it giving something less? So first two or three, last two or three is recommended to trace. Yeah, I know that most of the people will not do it. We will be confident, no? That's why. So then this is a simple example to start the for loop and the process of tracing. So let's move on to the next. So then how do we generate a result like this? Again, the expected output is generate the result like this. 1, 2, 4, 8, and so on. So there is a number called as 1024. So what is the idea to get this result or output? So first, the type of data is integer. The data is of int type, first point, because all are numerics. Then starting is 1, ending is 1024. The next point is, what is this pattern? Yes, first thing is it's increasing. Next thing is increasing by how much? It looks like +1. Then here is +2. But next one is, it's not plus 3, it's plus 4, correct? Plus 3 is not correct, plus 4 is correct. Now, do you see any pattern here? Plus 1, plus 2, then plus 3 means okay. We can make that happen. But if it is plus 1, plus 2, plus 4, what's next one? 16. As per the expert result, next will be 16. Then is it plus 5? No, again plus 8. Then there is no pattern here. So we can't use this logic. Does it mean that can't we use loop for this? No. We have to think the other possibilities. Then only we can conclude not possible. Then what is the other possibility? So plus 1, then plus 2, then plus 4, then plus 8. That's what is happening. So it means whatever is the value, the same thing will be added to increment. This is one idea. You can also get the idea that you might get 1 into 2, 2 into 2, then 4 into 2, like that. This is the pattern. So whichever is the idea that you get it, whichever you feel that comfortable to write it, we can follow to get the results. Now with this basic understanding, how do you write a loop for this generating, to generate this output? A for loop, initialization. So int type of data, variable of programmer choice, starting value is 1. Then what's the condition? So when it comes to increasing order, then 1024 compared to 1024, all the other values are less. Then use the less than, include the value equals. I should be less than or equals to 1024. Then increase the value. Then how to increase? One thing is we can add I plus I and, sorry, I plus I, update to I only. That's what is plus 1, plus 2, plus 4 means. Add the same value to it and update. Otherwise, if it is multiplication scenario, we can write I asterisk 2 and assign back to I itself. So any one of these is correct because both are going to follow the same pattern. These two are same now, I into 2 and I plus I. That's why. Then the block of for loop. Inside this, print such type of I values, then print of I over. So I mean to say when there is no such logical relation, so I said previously it's not possible. Then we have to think all the possibilities to generate it. So if it is no idea, no logic, I mean, if because we don't get it, we can't say it's not possible. But if it's really not, there is no logic, then it's not possible. Hope I'm clear with this example also, or with this program. Yeah, so the next. A frequently asked question for the newcomers or the freshers is factorial of a number. Factorial of a number. So before we write Java program to it, what is analysis or what is the knowledge that we have on factorial concept? So when it comes to factorial, say for example, 4 factorial. So instead of getting what's the answer, what's the process? It is nothing but from which number that is given, then we have to multiply that values to 1, up to 1. Then that end result is a factorial result. 24 is the result. No? 4 into 3, 12, 2, 24, 1s, 24. Then is it also possible to write the same factorial like this 1 into 2 into 3 into 4? Will it give the same result or different? Exactly same because multiplication is, there is a property called as commutative. A into B equals to B into A. That's what the same thing. So then it's programmer's comfort that we can generate the loop from 4 to 1 or we can generate the loop from 1 to 4. Any which way is fine. Yes, we can generate the loop from 1 to 4. Okay. But what is the process? Step by step process. What's supposed to happen when we write this factorial? So we have to multiply 1 and we have to multiply 2, 3, and 4 if it is a 4 factorial, correct? Then to which value you have to multiply for? The previous result of the step. Previous step result we have to use to multiply with 4. Then we'll get the result. Then 2, 3, what we are supposed to multiply? Previous result. We have to multiply 2, 3. Then here also you have to multiply previous result to get the result here. That's the previous result. Then if you to repeat the same pattern, here also we need to have some previous result. No? Then where is that? From where do we get it? We don't get, because there is no before step to it. Then when there is no such possibility of previous step to get some result for the pattern to continue, then we have to assume the value. Then which is the value we have to go for? Is it 10 or 20? No, because whichever the value that we use, it should not change the result of the first step that we expect. So what that we expect? For the first one, it's supposed to be 1 only because we are here. Then this result to be multiplied with 2. Then we get a new result. Then that is to be multiplied with 3. Then we'll get a new result. That is to be multiplied with 4. Then finally we get the expected result. So for the first one, there is a question mark. Then which value which doesn't change, even though if you multiply, which not change it, which will not change the result. It's 1. Correct? Then we need to go for a int type of a reference name. Because it's a factorial program, you can say factorial. You can take anything. I'm just using something as a reference. What's the value? It's supposed to be 1. So it means if you multiply by 1, then we get the result as 1. Then 2 with previous result 1 will give 2 is a new result. Then 3 with previous result as 2 will get the new result. Then 4 with previous result as 6 will get the new result. Then finally, this result is what is our expectation. If it is a 4 factorial. Correct? So this is the step-by-step process which is supposed to happen internally. Then is it allowed to write these 4 lines? Looks okay for 4 factorial. What if it is 100 factorial? Then 100 lines we have to write. Then this process is nothing but code duplication. We can't write this hard coding, and that leads to code duplication. Then the solution, this is not recommended. Use loop for this. So when it comes to loop, out of this step-by-step process, so here there are 3 columns I will call this way. Column number 1, column number 2, and column number 3, because these values are changing, these values are changing, these values are changing. This is also one of the column only, but the column with no change. Then no need to think about anything of variables. This is also one more column with star symbol. This, we don't need to think to use a variable there. But the columns which are having the different values in each step, then from that we have to pick one of the column to get the hint for loop. Which one is that? 1, 2, 6, 24. Any logic? No, we can't use loop. Then 1, 1. Can we use loop for this? Then 2 and then 6. No. Then here is 1, 2, 3, 4. Can we use loop? Yes. So this is the hint to generate the loop. So for loop with a variable of programmer choice, generally I. Now we can say that. So this is the column which represents the for loop variable called I. So now every value of this column will be of I only. Then asterisk. What is the variable that we use for 1? As we assume that reference, no? This is the reference. Then if here is a reference, then here is supposed to be reference only, and reference. That's how we can repeat the same line. Then if this is supposed to be reference, then what this should be? Also reference, therefore, store it back to a variable reference. It means to avoid the hard coding, that is writing the direct values. Now by analyzing it, we are converting all those code duplication into one single statement or line of code in terms of references or variables. Then this is supposed to be used to avoid the code duplication inside the loop. Use this inside loop while writing the program. That's how for any given requirement, it's not only for factorial, for any given requirement, as a developer, we should be able to analyze what's supposed to happen. Then in that, which are fixed and which are not fixed. Then out of them, what is a hint? Sometimes we'll get multiple times the hints. I mean, multiple columns to be hints or one of them to be hint. Then use that to generate the loop and convert everything as into a variable spot. So that should be analysis. If it is a quick analysis in the mind, that's well and good. If not, always we have to do this thinking process or rough work, at least initial stages. Then with this understanding, now writing a Java program is a dummy thing according to me. Let's write it. Inside the method or inside the main. So when I say inside the main, so it is time to understand that everything we are writing the loop process for code reusability. All these things we are tried in terms of methods approach for code reusability. All these loops also we are tried inside a method because it's a logical task. So let's write that way. So independent class. So public class, class name, factorial. Inside this class, now write a method. Public, return type, I'm keeping it simple as void. Then method name, programmer choice, get factorial. The next step. We need the number, no? Which factorial? 4 factorial, 10 factorial, that's the number. So int n is the input. This n can be anything from the user. N can be anything from the user. Then forward, as per our discussion, we need one variable prior to the loop, before the loop, right? An int type of reference equals 1. Then forward by convert this into loop process by using this column as a hint. So from where to where we have to generate 1 to 4. Then for loop, int I equals to 1. Then I should be less than equals to, can I write 4? No, because whatever is the n value, till that n value you have to continue, no? Just for understanding, I have taken example of 4, but in real time, it's not always 4. Then generic way, starting from 1 for any number. If it is 5 factorial also, we have to start from 1, then 2, 3, 4 into 5. It means starting will be always 1, but ending is not always 4, not always 5. Then as per our requirement, what's that? It's n. Then we have to increase the value, 1 after 2, 2 after 3, 3 after 4. That is I equals to I plus 1. Yes, there is a plus plus approach. I'll discuss at the last because without understanding, I don't want to use it. Then followed by inside this loop, what is that? This one line of code we have to write because everything is converted into variable C. The I value to be multiplied with a reference variable and assign the result back to reference variable. I'm writing from right to left. So that's what is our discussion. And this is the loop to fulfill the same requirement. Hope I'm clear. Then finally, what we're supposed to do? There is no print statement to get the result. Then print it. System.out.println. Print. You can concat with meaningful statements. Factorial of, then end of this concatenation. I mean, this string concat with n. So what is that? Factorial of 4. The next what I want is that the reference variable. So this is the presentation part. On the presentation part. So by this, we will get the result of 4. For example, if the input is 4, factorial of 4 is 24 is the result. That's what I'm going to say, presentation. Hope I'm clear with this. Yeah. So then it's a time to improvise our coding part. So what do I mean by improvise? Is can we reduce the number of iterations? And is it going to work for every type of input? These are the two questions. Can we reduce the number of iterations whenever we read the loop? And is our program is generic? Generic means it should work for every given input. So let's think about it. Is it required to multiply by 1? Any value, is it required to multiply by 1? Will it make any difference in the result? No. Then, now can I say that starting from 1 is adding one additional iteration? So can we start from 2 instead of 1? I hope you agree. So that one iteration is less. It means a further performance is better, no, compared to the previous scenario. That's the first point. The next, is it going to work for? So yeah, can we make some further improvisations? Yes, we can change the approach to write the coding. That we'll see later. But with this approach, we can start from 2. Next, is our program is going to work for every input. That means because we are asking user to give the input, user may give input as 4. User input may be 4. And for this input as 4, is everything is going to work fine? And do we get the right result? Yes, we are going to get the output as 24. But if you are aware of, then there is a 0 factorial also is there. And there is a negative factorials is there or not there. That means user may give some -5 as an input. Input number 1, first scenario over input number 2, second scenario, that is 5. -5. If it is -5, then do we have any factorial concept applied to negative numbers? No. Then is our loop is going to work? I mean, is our code is going to work and to give the output? Yes, it will give something. Yeah, if even though the condition is false for the first time, the factorial of n, that is -5, is reference. Reference is already 1. -5 factorial is 1 is output or according to our program. Then is it right? No. Then put the condition. Then when this supposed to be executed? This supposed to be executed whenever the numbers are positive. That's why if condition, this n value, it should be greater than or equals 0. Then only execute this for loop and print it. Then if not, use the else part saying that system.out.println, enter positive numbers only. Enter 0 or positive number only. Now does it gives meaning? Yes, -5. This is the output. Enter 0 or positive number only. It means user will understand, okay, factorial is not applied to negative numbers. The next 2 more scenarios. What are those? One is checking for 0, one is checking for 1. Do we have a 0 factorial? Yes. What's the result? 1. Do we have 1 factorial? Yes. What's the result? 1. Then is our program is going to give the right results for these two? Let's cross verify. If input is 0, n is 0, then reference is 1, then 0 greater than 0 true, then for loop I is 2, then 2 is less than 0 false. Then no execution of the loop, then comes the control here. Then factorial of 0 is reference, which is 1. So it's working. Then check with 1. Yes, 1. n is 1, reference is 1, 1 greater than 0 true, then for loop I equal to 2, 2 less than or equals to 1 false, then again execute this print statement, end of the loop. That's why execute this print statement. Factorial of 1 is 1. We are getting correctly. Then if it is 2, 3 and all, yes, the loop will be used for that, and we are going to get the appropriate outputs, example like 4. So this is what is the generic program. We can improvise this program by writing a different approach that we'll see in our next session. First, this should be understood. Hope I'm clear. Yeah, start thinking in this way. Start analyzing the things and start improvising things. So then the same program can be asked, can you write in recursive approach? Did you remember during methods concept we discussed about method recursion is possible? Then method recursion, normally if you use it, it's a not recommended style of coding, but it can be used to the advantage of the programmer. A clever way of writing the programs. Yeah, using recursion concepts. So then we will discuss the recursion of this, factorial with recursion approach in the next session. It doesn't mean I'm ending. So we'll go for next. Yeah. So I want you to execute and cross verify. Use a scanner input to this. And write the same program. We'll get the result. Only thing is why I don't execute most of the programs in the classroom is only to save some time. I made you understand. I have given you the code. If it's not working, please do cross verify and come back. So let's move on to the next. The next one is, so here is a practice for you. The practice is generate the outputs. First one is 1, 2, 100. Second one, practice to generate the output 1, output 2 is generate the numbers 100 to 1. Then again a practice -1 to -100. Next, minus 100 to -1. So if you were able to write this directly, there are two conclusions that we can expect. There are some conclusions. Why I am giving this one? I want you to understand a few things clearly. So you do this or generate these results. We will discuss the conclusions in the next session. Yeah. So then let's go for one more requirement, a simple requirement. Print sum. Print sum of starting value n1 to ending value n2. The constraint or the condition is n2 should be greater than n1. That's a constraint. Means I can simply write that print sum of 1 to 100. Just an example, print sum of 1 to 100 numbers. Then n1 is 1, n2 is 100. 100 should be greater than 1. Second number should be greater than first number. That's a constraint. Because for us to write the loop from which order, increasing order or decreasing order, we have to understand this. So then for this, what is a step-by-step process so that we can write the loop in a convenient way? It means we have to add 1, 2, 3, and so on, 99, 100. So all these numbers to be added. Then 1 plus 2, 3, 3 plus 3, 6, 6 plus 4, 10. So that process to happen. So for that, first one, we should add to something. Then we'll get some result. Then 2, we have to add it to the previous result. Then get new result. Then 3 should be added to previous result. Then we'll give new result. This is the flow which is supposed to happen. Then previous result of 98 step to be added with 99. Then we'll give new result. This result to be added to 100. Then finally we are going to get the value here. This is what's supposed to happen. Then as we discussed just now by using a factorial approach, for factorial, it's a product or multiplication. Then that multiplication reference to be 1 because 1 will not modify. If you multiply any value with 1, its result remains no change. But this is addition. Then where is our first reference? We don't have. Therefore, go with the reference. or assign a variable to it. So what type of variable? Let me write the program. So int, since it's a reference, and for addition, which value will not modify the data or the results? 0. For multiplication, 1 will not modify. If you multiply, if you add, 0 will not modify in terms of addition. If you add something, some other value other than 0, then there is a modification. If you multiply something else, then there is a modification. That's why references for all multiplications will be 1 and reference for all additions will be 0. So with this reference at 0, now this is a process, right? Now convert into variables now. Can we use a loop for this? This column can be used with I variable with for loop. Then this is a common symbol and this will be a reference and this will be also a reference. Done. Now this is the line of code which you have to use inside the loop by generating the loop from 1 to 100. Pretty straightforward, right? So let's go for it. A for loop int I equals to 1. We have written this already. So I'm writing the loop directly less than 100 or less than equals to 100. Then I equals to I plus 1. And inside this for loop, what's supposed to be the duplicate line, which is converted in terms of variables. I value to be added to the reference variable, then use the same reference to update it. So with the help of this looping process, finally in this reference variable, we are going to get this value. That should be our output, right? Then after the loop, because now we don't want a step-by-step output. Previously 1 to 100, print every number. Then when it comes to factorial, we don't want every step factorial. That's why printing is outside. And here also, printing is outside. Then after the loop, the reference will be the final value that we want. Then use the print statement to print. So this is the approach to print 1 to 100. Hope I'm clear. Then here I would like to add 2 points. Is it possible to print I value outside the loop? I mean to say system.out.println print I. Is it possible or not possible? It is not possible because a variable which is initialized in the loop header or in the loop body. I mean to say, for example, int x equals to 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we are not doing anything just for the sake of example. Now this x variable can be accessed outside. Both of these lines of code leads to compilation error because a variable initialized in the loop header or variable which is initialized in the loop block never possible to access outside. Same thing is applied for if conditions also. Yeah. Why? Because they are only available within the loop. They are local to the loop. We'll discuss types of variables. You'll get what do you mean by local, but they are local to the loop only. That's the reason it's not possible to access them outside. Hope I'm clear with this requirement and the process. A loop for this, we can write inside the method to get the result. Now, based on this, so here is the next practice for you. So currently, what are we printing? We are printing n1 to n2, 1 to 100. Then with the help of conditions concept, we can do this further requirements. So here is a requirement. Write a program to print sum of even numbers from n1 to n2. Again, write the generic logics, n2 should be greater than n. I may give 100 to 200 or we may give the input of 1000 to 2000. You have to print the sum of even numbers. The next step, print count of odd numbers. Count of odd numbers from n1 to n2, same constraint or condition that n2 should be greater than n1. How many odd numbers are there from 123 to 147? Okay, don't say that 1 to 100 means I already know that there are 50. Yeah. So a program should give the result. So sum of even, count of odd, then sum of odd also you can apply. Count of even also you can apply. Just I'm trying to give a different. And also, I want you to write a program for this, a table of a number. Table of a number. Analyze it and write. So that is in console. That is the output window of Eclipse. First, you should prompt a statement, enter a number. Then you are asking user to enter the number. Then user will enter something like 5. Then proceed. Then what we supposed to display? A 5 table. That is that we have learned during our math days that 5 ones 5, 5 twos 10. How long? Because loops are used for countable purpose, then 5 table up to 10 iterations, 5 times 50. So this is supposed to be in the console. It means I'm not discussing any code. What is the Java program for this? You think and write it by using single loop. You have to do it. Single for loop. Write a program to display a table of a given number. Then this supposed to be the output in the console. For this, what's the program? You think and write. Yeah. So from loops onwards, you'll be having some more practice on daily basis. So please, if you do it on daily basis, then my next discussion will be a continuation. Yeah, I hope you do it these things. Previously, I said some printing of 1 to 100, 100 to 1. That will give you some conclusion. We'll discuss what is the conclusion. Then after understanding this sum of 1 to 100 or n1 to n2, then that sum itself is based on some condition. Then the count also we can do it because we know conditions as well. We can apply the condition inside a loop, or we can write the loop inside a condition, depends on the requirements. So with this, I'll stop here for the day. And by hoping you guys will do this, the next class discussion will be continuation of this one. Like based on your code, I'll be having some conclusions of counting these even numbers, sum of even numbers. So I want you to give the response. Then followed by, if you practice the basic approach of factorial that we discussed, then we will discuss the recursive. Recursive is also mostly asked, even for the experienced people as well. So thank you for the day. Continue tomorrow.